All right, good morning, everyone. Oh, is it using the right microphone this time? Yeah, it looks like it's using the right microphone. Whew. Sorry about yesterday. I tried to make a stream yesterday and that didn't go so well. I looked crazy. Let me share the screen of how I look. Um, I look like this. Look at that. I couldn't see anything. So, yeah. So today we're going to actually do this stream. We're going to talk about Terraform and we're going to really do it. And I will not touch my eyes and hopefully we can get this whole stream going without any interruption. Um, can't promise anything because that's what happens when you're live, but you know, let's see what happened. So, all right. So today we are going to be talking about Terraform, and this is how it was yesterday when I was doing the stream. Um, yeah, no, I'll try not to touch my ass this time. But that's I basically didn't do anything. I didn't touch my computer all day because I couldn't see. But this is where we stand. All right, so Terraform. Let's go to Terraform. So basically, Terraform is infrastructure as code, and I made a video about that. Actually, I should have it ready in my stream about what Terraform is. Um, but what infrastructure as code is. But basically, infrastructure as code is a way to define your infrastructure so that you can just run code to get it like deployed. And there's a lot of advantages to this. The first one is that let me just add it. That's my video. It's link in the comment. But basically, the idea is you can easily deploy infrastructure, right? You make your changes, boom, you have a robot like creating your changes and all that stuff. So the advantages is you can copy and paste infrastructure, which is awesome because then you can, when you deploy things at scale in different regions and things like that, you don't have to deploy complicated infrastructure manually. It also gives you some accountability in terms of who does what and how much um, and what they changed and all that stuff because you do version control. And so that allows you to, see, okay, this person made this change and this is what caused the issue or improve things and all that stuff. So there's a lot idempotency. I don't know what that word is. Idempotency. You dare me to say idempotency. Well, let me search. Let me search this word. Independence. Yeah. The property of certain operations in mathematics and computer science they can whereby they can be applied multiple times without changing the results beyond the initial application. Oh, hey, yeah, absolutely. So it's idempotent. Uh, it's idempotent, meaning that you don't change. Like if you run the same thing over and over again, you get the same result. Not 100% true because I have seen things where you can run Terraform multiple times and get different results every time. Bugs, right? The theory is yes, it will not change anything if you run it over and over again, but when bugs happen, there's only so much you can do. But anyway, all right, so let's get started with Terraform. So in order to do Terraform, you're just going to need to download it, right? Go to terraform.io, right? All right, terraform.io. You grab this, you go to download, and then you install it for your operating system, either Brew for Mac or Windows. You can download the binary. The thing with the binary, if you use the binary in Windows, you have to make sure that it's either in a system in a folder that's in the path variable, right? Just called path. or you add the folder where you have your Terraform and put that in the path variable. Otherwise, you will have to call the executable over the fully qualified path. I think it's the same thing for Mac, except the brew installer actually does the whole the proper installation for you. So yeah, all right. So now we have Terraform. We have it installed. I'm not going to go over that. It's a fairly straightforward process. If somebody wants me to go over that, leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll make a quick video on how to install it. Shouldn't be longer than like 2 minutes. It's very straightforward. Um, okay, so we're in Terraform, and let's look at Terraform here. So this is your base Terraform, and I use Azure because Azure's the best. There's no contest here. I should actually change the name of this folder because that was meant to be yesterday. It's now we're April 24th. Oh God, we're April 24th. Yeah. So basically, you have this. This is your main thing. So Terraform will need to read code in order to work, right? It's like, what do I need to do? So the base that you need to have for Terraform is a file named main.tf right here. You see it right here. And this thing here. We can try and comment it out and see what Terraform is saying. It's probably going to be very unhappy. Actually, oh, because I'm in PowerShell. Come on. See, now I have to figure out now it's installed on my Mac, so it runs. But the PowerShell shell doesn't have the same path and all that stuff. So no changes. Okay, so I guess you don't even need this. I mean, you will need it at some point. Another thing you need is you need to configure your backend because Terraform has what's called a state file. And where did I put my window that had Terraform? There you go. All right, here. If we take this and we go to resources, resource groups, and Terraform state here. So it doesn't have to be remote, right? It doesn't have to be in the cloud, but ideally you'd like it to not be remote because you're going to not be local because you're going to be working on like version control and things like that. So ideally you would want this state file stored remotely. And what this does is you have a state file. Oh, okay, it's not here because there's no change. But basically the state file is just what stores your infrastructure and how it looks right now, so that it can compare what it did when it was done to what it has to do in the future. So and it doesn't compare the actual resources deployed in your environment to what you tell it to do, and that's awesome. And it sounds bad, but it's actually pretty good because because you don't want Terraform to just be like, you know what, I don't see this right here. I don't see this. Let's go to this subscription here, resource group. I don't see this Terraform-state resource group defined in my infrastructure, in my code. So in order to make it the way I want it to, I'm just gonna delete this. And you don't want it to because you want to be able to manage different parts of your infrastructure the way you want to manage it, right? You could have different Terraform files, different Terraform repositories for different parts of your subscription, and you don't want that to just destroy everything every time it doesn't see it. So Terraform will only manage what you tell it to manage. And if something is there and not defined as something that Terraform needs to manage, then Terraform will not touch it. So yeah. All right, let's go and do some Terraform. All right, so let's look at our little main.tf. So basically here, we have different, we have these two blocks that are more or less required when you create your infrastructure. So we have the Terraform block, which defines how Terraform itself is going to behave. So here we say, okay, this is Terraform, and we're going to say backend Azure RM. So what this tells you is that my backend, so where it stores all this information for the state, is stored in Azure. So you need Azure RM right here to manage that. But you need Azure RM for more than this. But you need Azure RM, and you're going to look for your backend in Azure. I think I'm looking this up. I think if you wanted local, you would just enter local. Yeah. So if you wanted it local, what you would do, and let's do this, you would do backend local, and then here, right? You don't have to put this path that Terraform, that Copilot is saying by default, but you want to give it a path of where to find the backend. You could do this anywhere, right? You could, if you wanted, you could work with all your states stored into one location on your machine. You could do one per repository or however you want. In my case, I'm going to do backend being a remote backend, and I'm going to use Azure. And in order to do that, you're going to need a backend way of defining all your variables for your backend. What are you telling me? Just give me a second. I'm going to, this is in the repository, and I'm going to give you the path of that repository in GitHub so you can look at it. 1 second. And actually, I created a repository for all my live streams. So in the future, every time I do a live stream, you could go to the same place. Live stream repos right here. This is where I store everything, and this, what I'm working on right now, is stored in the repo. So it will update more or less as I do it. I'm updating everything in main, which you shouldn't do, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay. So I have my backend in remote. What you need is basically the tenant for your Azure subscription, your Azure subscription ID, the resource group name for your resource group, the storage account name, the container name, and the key for the storage account. Now, this will only do the state, right? This is only giving you access. This is only giving Terraform access to read the state without anything. It does not give you permission to actually enact any changes in your subscription, right? It does not have the permissions to do that by default. Obviously, this doesn't grant you the permission. Okay. Then you say required providers, which are these. So Azure RM, and we want this from HashiCorp, and we want this version. And if you wanted AWS, you could probably add, I don't know how you do this, but you could probably add AWS this, right? And if you wanted to add AWS, and you could actually deploy your infrastructure on both AWS and Azure. It is completely doable, but you would have to provide the providers, right? And then the required version of Terraform that you need to use to run this. So Not obvious, but fairly straightforward. So this is what it looks like. Then you say provider, Azure RM, and then you say features. I don't know what feature you need, honestly. That's good enough, right? This is, can you offload the key from the backend file? Always a bit nervous having a file with a storage account key. Yes, you could actually have that stored in your environment variable. And if you did that in GitHub in an action or whatever you run your actions with, you would set that as a secret. And so, and when you have your thing, you can actually do define. Do I have this? Right here. And so you could have your backend config equals, and then you do key here, right? When you do Terraform init, and then you give it the config, and you do the key, and then the demo, like whatever your key is. So you pass it as a something like this. In theory, if I did this right, I added all my keys. There you go. Yeah. I have my keys defined locally in a file that is ignored right here. I'm not going to show it to you because it has my keys, but it is in a file that's ignored by Git. So I can do troubleshooting locally without having to pass my credentials remotely, right? And ideally, so I have this to work locally to do all my Terraform plan and see that everything is working. And then when I would push it to GitHub, then I would have my actions in there with the key as a environment variable. So that's the way of doing things. That's how you would do it. Hope that answered your question. All right. So we have the backend, right? We know where we're storing things. We know we're going to be using Azure. If you want to do AWS, it's going to be more or less the same thing, or Google Cloud, more or less the same thing, but obviously it's not going to be exactly the same, right? So you're going to have to Google it. It should be more or less the same, like I said. I mean, these cloud providers are basically providing the same services with different names. All right. So now let's go and do things. All right, so now what we want to do is we're going to start adding resources to our Terraform file, to our environment, right? Okay, the first thing we are going to do actually, and I mean, in theory, it's done, but in order to do things, Terraform actually needs an account to be able to do things, right? So we're going to do AZ login, right? I'm right here at the bottom. We're going to log into Azure. This is logging in on the different screen that you don't see, but do the process yourself. If you've done Azure, it should be pretty straightforward. Ah, I hate that it just shows everything. Okay, whatever. Everybody knows everything about me now. Ugh, it's annoying. Anyway, and we want to set the subscription to the proper subscription. And there you go. Yeah, make sure you set the subscription to the proper subscription. Otherwise, it's just going to do whatever it's in there doing, you know? So it will just be like, hey, this is my subscription, and I'll just do things in there. So make sure you set the proper subscription. Most people have one subscription, but I have many because that's how I organize my projects. But anyway, let's do. So this is what it looks like right now, right? Let's refresh the state so we see we're all in agreement that there's nothing else in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to first create a resource group. So resource, right? We're going to say, I want Azure RM to handle this. Actually, there you go. Thank you. So we're going to use the provider. So it always starts with the provider who's going to do the action. This is just a naming convention. Theoretically, I would say there's probably not a need, but you know, this is how it always is. So Azure RM. Then we're going to do resource group. Oh, come on. I want to select it. I don't want to resource group. And then we're going to give that resource group a variable name, right? So this is saying test, but I don't want it to be called test. I want it to be called my RG, because the advantage is once I create this resource group, I can reference it later. So if I want to have the same location, or I want to have, just different things, I can reference those settings later. So we're gonna call it my resource group, and location I'm gonna do East US, and we are good. All right, so in theory this is good. We added a resource, and let's put some comment. Create a new resource group for our resources. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. And we save it. Don't forget to save it. Right. I did this on purpose. All right, now let's move it down here. Can I zoom in? I can't zoom in. Okay. Clear. Oh, hey. Okay. Now we're here. There's a few Terraform commands you need to learn. All right, the first command is fmt recursive. Now, why do I do recursive? Because in theory, if you have multiple folders and subfolders, you want it to just go and format everything. But the advantage of this is this will format your code according to the proper Terraform format, which is nice, which is, make sure all your equals are aligned, your spaces, your tabs, your indents, and all that stuff. So first one, nice. Keep your formatting clean. First one to run, easy, no real modifications to anything. The second one we're going to run, and actually the first one we're going to run next, we're going to run Terraform init, and actually I have it here. So, all right, Terraform init, and then if we have config for backend that is not local, so something remote where you have to have all these variables set, like in here, you need a way to pass these this way. So we're going to say Terraform, I want you to initialize, look at everything you need from this main.tf, because it actually needs to be like, hey, I'm going to import that provider to make resource group. We're going to initialize, you get everything, download everything you need to run your code. And here's also the configuration where you can get your state from. So we're going to do this. It's going to initialize the backend, all that stuff. See, now it's installing Azure RM. And there you go. Now it's done. Now it's initialized and it's ready to go. Okay. And see, there's a lock here. There's a file that just tells you here's everything that that I need. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use plan. Now, what plan does is it will refresh the state. That's actually one of the questions on the exams. Terraform will go. It will refresh the state that it has. Look in your Azure resources, see everything that it manages, see where they are. Did their configuration change, and all that stuff. We're actually going to change something so you can see. It's going to be like, hey, I'm not happy with that. And then it's going to see what it needs to do and tell you what it needs to do. So we're going to run Terraform plan. And it's doing its thing. It's taking its time doing its thing. Usually it's a little bit faster. There we go. So we're here. That's where we run our Terraform plan. And then it tells you, okay, if you have a plus, you're going to create. If you have a minus, you're going to delete. And if you have plus/minus, you're going to delete and recreate, or minus/plus, delete and recreate. So here what it says, I'm going to create this Azure resource group that my RG, that's the variable name we gave it. I am not chugging Benadryl. I should. My eye is still a little bit puffy, but I can see and I'm not touching it. But anyway, so it's saying I'm going to create this resource right here. So I'm gonna do location ECUS. I'm gonna create the location is gonna be my resource group, and the ID of that resource group, because all resources have an ID, I don't know until I actually create it. So I'm just gonna tell it to you later. Now what we can do is we do Terraform Apply. Okay, let me. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do clear. All right. So now it's going to go and it's going to refresh the state, say, hey, is that resource group already created? Does it exist? Blah, blah, blah. Do I have to do anything? And it's just going to go and create whatever I need. So it's going to do a plan. It's going to tell you, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm doing. And then it's going to do it. Always do a plan. Always start with a plan. Because if you don't start with a plan, what is going to happen is you might overwrite things that you don't know about. And the good thing is it tells you plan right here. It does the plan and then says, hey, you okay? Anything other than yes will not work. But there's a way, I forgot what it is, to say like, yeah, force apply. Don't ask me. Very practical, because when you do a GitHub action, you can't just have it just wait for your input. So there you go. One resource added. Now if we go here, we expect our resource group to be created. Just give a portal a little bit to refresh. I'm really hoping I did it in the right subscription. Please tell me I did it in the right subscription. There we go. Right subscription. There you go. So now we have our resource group right here. And if we run Terraform plan again to take a look at what happens, we're going to see that Terraform is, we're going to see the independency of Terraform and how things just don't change if you apply them to say over and over again, right? No changes detected. So that's the idempotency. I did it. But anyway. All right. So nothing is changing. We're good. Now, this is a little annoying, right? We have to do, you know what? Before I say this is annoying, we're going to add another resource in there. We're going to do, oh, cool. See, IntelliSense actually gives you what you can have. And what I want is Azure ARM storage account, right? And we're going to say ISA. All right, so now I'm going to have a name. And yeah, I'm using Copilot, which will give me a lot of autocomplete. So see, now we're reusing our variable, my resource group, right? We want it in the same resource group. We have the name, we have the location, and that's wonderful because you can just keep going like this. Account tier standard, replication type LRS. We're gonna name it a little bit better. Caroline test TFSA. Right, that's not the same name. And looks about right to me. Now let's do a plan. Let's take a look what it's going to do. It's a bit slow. I don't know why it's that slow, but yeah, it's just going to go refresh the state. Take a look at what's in there. There you go. So here it's like, hey, I'm going to add this resource. And see, there's a lot of things that are like more or less default or applied, known after apply, that is going to do. Access tier, like whatever is the default. We've done this. Then it's gonna the keys are going to be created automatically and all that stuff. So it's gonna create all that. So it's awesome. There's a bare minimum that you need to specify. The rest Terraform will handle it. Be like, hey, this is the Azure Resource Manager. The thing that's actually doing the work is just gonna create it for me. And let's run our format first, because as you've probably noticed, this was incorrect, right? The formatting is incorrect because these don't align. So we're going to do a little bit of formatting just so that everything looks nice before we commit our code. And then we're going to apply. So it's going to do its thing. In the meantime, I will commit the changes so you guys can see it in get ignore. Had to get ignore. Had to get ignore. Domain push. All right, so now it's saying, hey, I'm going to do this. Are you okay with that? So now we're going to say yes. Everything again is in here. I just committed these changes so you can actually see it. Obviously, Carolyn test TFSA. If I create it, it's not going to work for you because globally unique names and so on. Okay, let's let it create, and then we're going to go to variables because we want to be able to have variables, right? If I want to recreate my infrastructure in different contexts, right? For example, here's the default standard for my subscriptions, right? This is how my subscriptions are. They all have log analytics. They all have a main resource group with where I'm going to put all my core resources. They all have blah, 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 right? And they all have this sort of naming thing. I want to be able to reuse this code for each environment that I have. So let's go here. Let me show you that it's been created. I have this picture of me with my soul and eye right here. It's freaking me out. And you can see, boom, that storage account has been created for me. I didn't touch anything in the portal, but Terraform did it for me. And again, independency of Terraform means that if I plan things again, nothing will change. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. And the next thing is variables. So now we want to be able to say, well, I'm going to change this. What am I looking for? So now we need a variables.tf. Right? And that allows us to give input to our Terraform file all in one place. Variable, and we're going to call it prefix. And we're going to say no default. We don't want a default. And actually default. We're going to have a default. And we're going to say nothing, right? We're going to say it's empty. And we're going to say type equals string, right? Problem here. Okay, I don't know why this is red. Do you not like it? Okay, it just doesn't like 2 spaces instead of 4. That's okay. Okay, so now we have a variable called prefix. And the idea of this variable called prefix is that you can use it here. So now my storage account, instead of being Caroline test F TFSA, like for example, I can do Caroline SA, and here I'm going to put my prefix. So var.prefix. Right? So that account is now going to be var.prefix and then the storage account name. So that for each subscription, for example, that could be a different prefix. And let's do plan. And when we do plan, it's going to be like, hey, what do you want prefix to be? Because it's going to require. No, actually, it's not, because it's going to use the default value, right? So if it's not specified, it's going to use the default value. Okay. And here what it's saying is like, hey, this resource, my essay, I already have it created, but now it has a different name, right? The name is now Caroline essay. And in order to do that, in order to fix that name for that resource, my essay, my storage account, I'm going to have to delete and recreate this. Sorry, because you can't just change the name. So it's going to do this. Now, the odds are Caroline essay exists already. So we're going to do apply just for fun. I would assume that it's going to fail because the name is already taken. But while it does that, how do I specify this input for my environment? And I forgot how to do that. So we're going to look at this. Yes, I approve the change, nobody. Let's go do this. And input variables. And it's in your Terraform. Sorry, I'm not reading all of this because I know what I'm looking for. Okay. So you could use it in here with var, right? You can put it in var. Or, there you go, tfvar. You have to have a tfvars file, which is what we're going to do because it's a lot easier. So you can have -var, and then you do the var variable and then the value. And then if you want a second one, variable, then value, or you want to have, there you go. Okay. But we're going to do just a file that's going to be much easier. So let's do that. So Caroline.tfvars. And now we just define our variables. So we have prefix, and our prefix is going to be Caroline test. That's going to be our prefix. Oh, it worked. I'm surprised that Caroline essay it's not taken. There you go. So I deleted it, recreated it, and now we have it. Okay. But let me remove this so you can see better. Okay. So now I'm going to say all the variables are, all the prefix for everything that I do is going to start with CC, because Caroline Chiari. And here we're going to say, there you go. It's going to be here. It's going to be CC, whatever. Now we're going to apply. We need to clear. We're actually going to do plan-var file, right? Var file, is that what you want? var-file equals Caroline.tfvars. So now it's not going to assume that everything is like default blank because I specified a prefix for it. So now for you, before we see the output of the plan, what do you think is going to happen? Like, think about it. I'll give you like 2 seconds to think about it. Feel free to pause it, resume. All right, so what is going to happen here? So we're going to take this here. So this is now CC Caroline essay. So that's going to need to be recreated. And this resource group right here is going to be CC my resource group. So this is also going to need to be recreated because you can't rename a resource group. So it's going to basically delete everything and recreate everything. All right, so to changed, to add to destroy, right? So it's going to destroy both of them, then it's going to recreate both of them. And you can see that the storage account is a minus plus, and here a minus plus. And here it tells you, see, this is the property that forces replacement. And here, this is a property that forces replacement too. So yeah, so let's give it a shot. Let's do Terraform Apply. And we also need our var file. It's going to do its thing. It's going to plan and be like, hey, you okay with this? And be like, yeah, buddy. It's awesome. So everything that is here, we're going to say goodbye to. This. When I'm done with this, I'm going to refresh it, and you're going to see that it's going to be like, hey, I can't find that resource group, buddy. And that is what we expect there to be. We're going to say yes. It's going to take its time. In the meantime, any questions? So this is practical because, for example, if I have different environments and I want to create the same thing for different environments, I can do that. I can just be like, I'm going to have the Caroline environment, and I'm going to have the Caroline test environment, Caroline production environment, and they have different configuration because you will basically, another thing this allows you to do with these variables, right, is you can keep your infrastructure the same between your test and production environment and just change the property, right? Because you will have, in theory, when you do a test and production environment, you have the same environment, except the test one is scaled down. So if you want to mirror those environments, all you have to do is just change the variables and the names so that everything is the same, except slightly scaled. So yes. But even though Terraform only touches infrastructure and should not modify your data, when you get into cases where your storage account gets renamed, right, it will delete all your data in your storage account. It's not doing a backup and transferring it over. It's deleting everything and putting new things in there. So you have to be careful when you do that, because that could mean major outage and data loss. So it's completed, and let's refresh this, and it's going to be like resource not found. Good job. It's exactly what I wanted. We're going to go to our subscriptions. We're going to do a Terraform test, and we're going to do our resource groups. And there you go. Now it's been recreated. CC my resource group and CC Caroline essay. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. It's awesome. Okay. If you have lots of questions, Boris, feel free to ask them. All right. So we have that. But that gets big, right? If you start having a lot of things defined in there, that gets big. You will have big files. One thing that Terraform does is it starts with your main file. It reads all the files that are .tf in the folder, and is like, I'm just gonna read everything and mush them together. So what you can do is I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it storage accounts.tf, right? And this is where I'm going to put all my storage accounts. Actually, you know what? Let me delete this for now. Actually, cancel. I don't have to delete this. I want to commit this so you can look at it as things go. I'm going to ignore this for now. All right. All right. The part between local, that's fine. The part between local, so here you can, when you have your backend, this is where your Terraform state is stored. So this is where, and be careful, your Terraform state actually has all your variables in plain, all your passwords in plain text. I'm hoping there's no passwords in there because I haven't written any passwords. But let's look at this. Let's edit it. All right, see, this is our state. This is everything that it has, right? It has the subscription, CCMI resource group. It has, basically has all the configuration, that storage account. It stores everything in that stale file. See, it also stores all the output. Like this is the primary key. This is the secondary key somewhere else. This is the name of the connections and all that stuff. Secondary key. And yes, I'm going to recreate these resources so you don't see them. So it doesn't make sense, but it's basically storing all your state. And you can either store that locally. The advantage of working locally is that you don't rely on a remote endpoint, but it also means that you can't really work with other people as easily because the state file and all that stuff. So if you wanted to make it local, here you would just say, actually, let me comment this out. You would just do and local, and then you'll give it a path where it is, and blah, blah, blah. So does it know where it is on Azure? Yes, it does. There's no path because I actually set it up right here. And so we have that backend file where you put all your tenant, your subscription, your source group for your storage account, where basically where all the information you would need to find the storage account where your backend is stored. And then basically when you initialize right here, all the way at the bottom right here, when you initialize your Terraform, you give it this file, and this file just stores locally, like here's the account, here's the key, here's the subscription and all that stuff, so that every time it runs, you don't have to provide this again and again, and it will just know, right? It saves in the local, that in, assuming it's in here somewhere, where it saves what it needs. So yeah, and I have mine right here that's ignored. I Git with the actual configuration. And one thing that was asked earlier, right here, can you store this key so that it's not in the file? Yes, you can store settings in environment variable so that you can, not have anything saved locally. And that's what you would do when you run your Git actions, GitHub actions and all that stuff. It would just have them in environment variable, and then you pass your environment variable to Terraform, and so on. So I hope this answers the question. Don't be sorry. Good question. So yeah. Okay. let's go back to where we were. So here I have storage account, and I want to move all my storage account into one location, right? I'm just going to be like, main is really like the main level. I'm going to put resource group, and if I need anything else, I'm just going to move it there. But here we can do this, right? And we're going to put it in our storage account. Save everything. Save everything. And in theory, right, if we're correct with everything that we did, that's fine if I reinitialize the backend. Not a big deal. If we plan, there shouldn't be any changes because, well, it hasn't really changed. Actually, did I just cut this? Yeah. It hasn't really changed. It's going to mush these files together and be like, oh, hey, same thing. So that's the idempotency. See, no changes of Terraform. So it read this. It didn't see that the storage account was gone. See, it says the storage account is still there, right? And so, yeah. Let's run this. And now if we do prod, you will have a new storage account. It's going to be prod Caroline SA. And then we'll just rerun the same way. So that's awesome because it allows you to really split up your code to make it more readable, right? So if you have a ton of storage accounts, you can just be like, I'm going to put all these storage accounts in there, and it's going to be like all together, all the resource groups, all the compute, all these stuff, different location. Makes it much clearer as opposed to have a file that's like 1,000 lines. How do we force apply? Because I'm tired of saying yes. Auto approve. Boom. All right. Okay, so this will run, this will do its thing. Okay. So now, I think this is like good solid basis for Terraform. Really would help you deploy basic infrastructure. But now we gotta go a little bit deeper. We gotta go and talk about modules. So, what are modules? Well, think about it this way. You have a storage account that you want configured a certain way. Like this storage account is going to be, let's say, your mission critical storage account, right? And mission critical storage accounts have certain parameters that they have to be configured with, whereas regular storage accounts don't. And you don't really want to bother yourself with like adding all these settings to your very mission critical storage account. So like, for example, geo-redundant storage, or what is it? GLRS, GZRS, or whatever, geo zone redundant storage, whatever. And they have like different settings and all that stuff. So in order to not have to recreate all these complicated configurations of things, you can create a module. And let's create a module. You don't have to call it modules, but I'm going to create modules. And we're going to create a new file in there, and we're going to call it mission critical storage.tf. Missing critical storage? No, it's mission. Right, we have mission critical storage.tf. And this is going to be creating a resource that's called Azure RM storage account and CSA. And this resource is going to have, there you go, and GRS account tier premium. I think that's a tier. Name, we're going to pass it as a variable, right? For the storage account name. And here we can have different variables. This can have its own variables. Think about it as a function in programming. So we're going to say variable, can't type. And this is going to be storage account name. There's no default, and it's going to be type string. Okay. All right, so this is going to be creating a mission critical storage account. And you know what? Because we're going to take it and we're going to say all of them are going to start with MC. I don't care what you do, my storage account is going to start with MC. All right. This looks good. Yeah, I think this is going to be make an error though, but we'll see. Okay. Source. One second. Okay. Let me make sure I'm using the module properly. We use module. Okay, never mind. I messed up. Okay, so module. This one is called mission critical storage, same as the name right here. We're going to say the source is this. And here we're going to have to pass our name, right, which is storage account name. Oh no, Caroline Ma. All right, so let's do this. You gotta initialize because, okay. What did I do wrong? Unreadable module directory. Oh, because in your modules, actually, sorry. Mission critical. Okay. This actually goes in here. Move. Yes. So it's the path you give is this one, right? The name. Let's try this again. Okay, now we have okay. Now we have initialized it. You have to initialize when you add a module because otherwise it's just going to be like, what module are you talking about? So you need to initialize every time you add a module. Let's plan. Let's see what happens now that we plan. I would expect it to have an issue because it's, yeah. So the module doesn't have access to the parent's data. So what we're going to do here is we're going to need to pass this data in the variables. So it's going to be name and RG location. Right, now we have to pass this. It's going to be var.rg name, var.rg location. All right. Now we have to pass these in our main. Sorry, here. Name equals Azure. There you go. There you go. Let's do some initialization again because we changed the module. Actually, we don't have to do that because we changed the module. Sorry, it's already initialized. Let's format it so that it's good. Now that we do recursive, it went in, change our mission critical storage.tf, variables.tf, and the storage account. So it changed the formatting for these. Now we can plan it, see what happens. All right, so now it's saying, hey, I'm going to add the mission critical storage account. No errors. Let's use GRS premium, and we're going to go this, and we'll take a look at our storage account that will be created. And as you can see, this Terraform state hasn't moved. Sorry. Here. All right. Where do we stand? Oh, no, it had an issue. All right, what did I do? Account type premium GRS is invalid. Right, okay, we're gonna just make it simple, standard. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. What am I looking for? Cool. All right, do your thing, everybody. I think we can stop after the after module when this is done. There's a lot more to cover, but I think we can do a part 2. I think 1 hour is plenty. So what we've covered here is how to set up Terraform, how to set up the backend for Terraform, creating resources in Terraform, creating resources with variables, in Terraform, creating modules. Here, if we look here, we should have our account. All right, let's do a full-blown refresh. Okay. Sometimes the portal doesn't keep up with Terraform, just so. There you go. Now it is here. And the cat type should now be a GRS. Boom. All right, so we got it. GRS, see, it worked. It was defined in our module. And now that's how we define our, mission critical storage. And the good thing with this is you could probably create standards, pass that around your company, pass that around other people, and be like, if you want to create mission critical storage, these are our standards. So, for example, force HTTPS connection and only connect to a private network and only use endpoints and all that stuff. So, pretty powerful stuff. But yeah. So now I would assume that if you've gone through this whole hour with me, you should be able to deploy code in Terraform, deploy infrastructure in Terraform, at least in Azure. AWS is slightly different. I find that AWS may have more difficult configurations than Azure, but yeah, you should be able to do everything, figure it out. Terraform.io, everything is documented there. You can go there, Google things. Everything is, I'm committing it right now if I find my GitHub module. All right. Main, push origin. Oh, I didn't push origin. Oh, wait, what is that? Sorry, 1 second. Okay. All right. So now everything is in the repo right here. Yeah, so whatever we did, all of this is in the repo. You should be able to do it, look at it, go back, check the video. Any questions from anyone? Basically, Boris. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Let's do this. Let's look at this. So I'm deleting this. It's deleted. And let's do a plan now. Just to show you what happens when you do a plan. So when you do a plan, it's going to go back into Azure, check the resources that it deployed, see if they're still there and all that stuff. And in theory, if I'm right, which I should be like, hey, yeah, this account isn't there. Like I had it, right? Here's everything I had in my state. It was all there. But this was deleted, see? Following change outside of Terraform. And now it's like, I'm going to recreate this because it's gone. So now that it's gone, it's going to have to recreate it. We can just apply this. So, yeah. Okay. Let's go here. So, to answer your question, Boris, this question right here, I have made a video about GitHub and how to use Git and Markdown. This is definitely not the answer to your question. This is close to the answer to your question. So I did this video, a while back, a few months back. So this is there, and yes, I can do a video with using GitHub Actions, and maybe even put Terraform in there. So yeah, definitely good suggestions. I'm going to do that. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go eat lunch now. And yeah, hope everybody has a good rest of weekend, whatever. And I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I'll try to record something today. All right. Yeah, it's fine. It's a big video. It's a huge video. But yeah. You're welcome. Bon appetit. Bye, everyone.